You ever notice how people talk about having kids like it's some kind of spiritual awakening? Oh, it's the most beautiful experience you'll ever have. You'll never know love until you hold your baby in your arms. Yeah? You'll also never know fear, sleep deprivation, and a deep existential regret wrapped in a blanket. Nobody ever says that part in the baby shower cards, right? They make it sound like parenthood is this holy calling, like you're entering a sacred club where the password is "I'm exhausted," and the initiation ritual is giving up every last drop of your sanity. The biggest con ever sold is that you'll be so happy you had kids. That's the brochure. The reality? You just signed up for the world's longest unpaid internship and your boss can't even tie their own shoes. You think you're bringing life into the world, but what you're really doing is letting chaos rent a room in your house for 18 years. Minimum. If you're lucky, they leave. Most of the time, they don't. They hang around, eat your food, use your Netflix, and tell you you're out of touch. You created this. You grew your own critic. It starts with that one phrase, "We're ready." Ready for what? You've barely learned how to keep a cactus alive. You think you're ready because you bought matching pajamas and a stroller that cost more than your first car. But the moment that baby pops out, your entire life does a hard reboot. There's no instruction manual, no return policy, and definitely no refund. That's the real fine print they forget to mention. And people always say, "You'll understand when you're a parent." Yeah, what they mean is you'll understand how it feels to lose control of your schedule, your privacy, and your mind. Suddenly, you're in a constant state of emergency over someone who doesn't even have teeth. You start negotiating with a person who can't speak full sentences. Please, just sleep. Daddy's soul is dying. You remember when your biggest problem was being stuck in traffic? Now traffic sounds like a vacation. You get to sit alone in silence. That's luxury now. The only time you get peace is when you're in the bathroom pretending you're constipated just so you can scroll your phone for 2 minutes without hearing "Mommy" or "Daddy." Every parent becomes a fugitive in their own house, hiding from their own creation. And the best part is how society keeps cheering you on. Oh, it's worth it. It's all worth it. They say that like it's a cult slogan. You ever notice that? Only people who are knee-deep in regret say that. It's like they're trying to convince themselves. They smile through gritted teeth while their kid is throwing cereal at the wall, muttering, "It's so fulfilling." Yeah, sure, Janet, looks fulfilling. You've got yogurt in your hair and a toddler calling you poopy head. You start to realize this whole parenting thing is a generational con. Your parents guilt you into having kids because they had to suffer too. They don't want to be the only ones who fell for it. Oh, when are you going to give us grandkids? Translation, we want to watch you crumble the same way we did. They can't wait to see the chaos begin. And when it does, they sit back, sip their tea, and say, "Now you know." And it's not that you don't love your kid, you do. That's the trap. That's the design flaw in the human brain. You love this little creature that ruined your life. You can't even be mad because they're cute. You're holding a ticking time bomb that giggles and smells like baby powder. It's emotional blackmail. The universe's cruel joke. You can't hate them, so you just hate yourself for thinking about hating them. Remember when you used to go out on weekends? That's gone. You don't go out anymore, you run errands, you don't eat dinner, you clean up spaghetti art. You don't watch movies, you rewatch Frozen until your will to live evaporates. And then when you finally do get a night off, you don't even know how to be a person anymore. You're just sitting in a restaurant blinking at the menu like a caveman discovering fire. So, wait, I can order food that someone else cooks? You talk to your friends without kids and realize they live on another planet. They're talking about new bars, new trips, new hobbies, and you're excited because your kid pooped in the toilet for the first time. That's your big win of the week. You used to talk about politics, philosophy, music. Now your biggest debate is about diaper brands. You've gone from deep thinker to baby butler. And what about sleep? Oh, sleep, that sweet memory of a life you once had. Parents don't sleep, they nap in fear. Every creak, every cough, every sound could be the start of a crisis. You wake up more tired than you were before you went to bed. You start dreaming about sleeping. You fantasize about napping. Your alarm clock isn't a device anymore, it's a person who doesn't care about your circadian rhythm. Then there's the financial side. You thought you were broke before? You've seen nothing. A kid is basically a walking invoice. You're paying for clothes they outgrow in a month, food they refuse to eat, and toys they ignore because the box is more interesting. And when they're older, the bills don't stop, they evolve. Piano lessons, braces, college. You're investing everything you have into a creature that will one day tell you you're embarrassing. The whole thing is one long performance. You pretend you're enjoying it because everyone else is pretending too. You post photos online like, look how happy we are, when really, you haven't felt happy since the epidural wore off. It's a collective delusion. Everyone's faking it just to survive it. And yet, in the middle of the madness, something weird happens. You look at that kid, this tiny person who can't spell their own name but somehow owns your heart, and you feel something real. Not the Hallmark version, but the raw, terrifying truth of it. You realize you go through all of it again. Every sleepless night, every meltdown, every moment of regret because that little human is yours. You made them. You're stuck with them. And somehow, that's okay. Because even though the whole "you'll be so happy you had kids" thing is a scam, it's the only scam that leaves you smiling while you're falling apart. The dream dies in the delivery room. That's where it all begins. Or rather, where you end. Everyone talks about childbirth like it's this sacred miracle, a moment of pure joy. Yeah, sure, pure joy, right after 12 hours of screaming, crying, sweating, and bargaining with the universe. You're not welcoming life, you're watching your old life walk out the door and slam it behind you. They hand you the baby, and suddenly, you're a parent. That's it. No ceremony, no orientation, no manual. Just, here, good luck. Try not to mess up the next 18 years. And that's the moment it hits you, the dream you had about freedom, quiet mornings, spontaneous road trips, and uninterrupted sleep just flatlined. You're standing there holding this tiny creature that looks like a mix between Winston Churchill and a raisin, and everyone's smiling like it's a Disney movie. Meanwhile, you're thinking, what have I done? You can't say it out loud, of course. You just nod and pretend this screaming miracle has changed your life for the better. And technically, it has just not in the direction you expected. Before that day, you were still you. You had an identity. You were a person with interests, opinions, a Netflix queue. Then, that baby shows up, and you become parent. That's your whole name now. It's not Mark or Sarah anymore. You're dad, you're mom. You lose your first name and your last shred of individuality in the same week. It's not even a bad thing necessarily. It's just eerie. Like you joined a cult where everyone's sleep deprived and smells faintly of baby wipes. And those first few days, man, they're a blur. Everyone's telling you how beautiful it is, how magical it feels, while you're trying to figure out how to keep a 5-pound human alive without instructions. Every second you think, is it breathing? Should it be making that noise? Should I be making that noise? You're constantly on high alert, like you're guarding the crown jewels, except the jewels are screaming, leaking, and occasionally vomiting on your shoulder. Then there's sleep, or whatever's left of it. Remember sleep? You used to take it for granted. You'd lie down, close your eyes, and wake up 8 hours later feeling refreshed. Now, you live in a different dimension. You don't sleep, you just pass out for 20 minutes between feedings. You start counting your rest in seconds, not hours. You hallucinate, you forget your own birthday. At one point, you seriously consider moving into the car just for a nap. People will try to comfort you. It gets easier, they say. Easier? No, it gets different. You go from being terrified of breaking the baby to being terrified of raising the baby. You start worrying about things you never thought about before, like whether the pacifier has BPA, or if the baby's head is shaped correctly, or if you're singing too loudly. Suddenly, everything is a potential threat. You become a full-time employee of Fear Incorporated, and all those hobbies you used to love, gone. You used to have a life full of color and noise, concerts, dinners, maybe even a little adventure. Now your biggest adventure is getting through a grocery store without the baby detonating into a meltdown. You start negotiating with yourself like a hostage situation. Okay, if I can just make it through the diaper aisle without crying, I'll buy myself a candy bar. Even the simplest things become complicated. Leaving the house, that's a military operation now. You can't just go out. You need bags, bottles, wipes, diapers, spare clothes, snacks, toys, backup toys, emergency snacks for when the first snacks fail. You used to travel light, now you're basically a one-person supply chain, and when you finally make it to your destination, the baby falls asleep. So you just sit there in the car, engine off, scrolling your phone like a zombie, praying they don't wake up. You also start to realize how different your world has become. Before kids, you used to laugh at parents with strollers blocking the sidewalk. Now you are that parent, and you hate everyone who looks annoyed about it. You used to think kids screaming in public were a sign of bad parenting. Now you know it's just a sign of parenting. You've joined the ranks of the broken. You're part of the tribe now. And then there's the relationship shift. Oh, that's fun. You and your partner used to be a team equals lovers, friends. Now you're coworkers in a failing startup called Keeping This Baby Alive Incorporated. You communicate in grunts and hand signals. You argue about who slept less, who changed more diapers, whose turn it is to have a mental breakdown. You're both exhausted, but you can't quit. There's no HR department, no vacation time, no weekends off. Just one endless loop of feedings, crying, and pretending you still like each other. But you know what's strange? Somewhere in all that chaos, in the mess, in the fear, there's this weird, twisted beauty. You look at that tiny face, the same one that's been ruining your life for weeks, and you feel something primal, something impossible to explain. It's not happiness. Exactly. It's something deeper, like your brain, trying to justify the madness. This little human depends entirely on you, trusts you completely, and somehow that makes it all okay. That's the cruel genius of it, the emotional trap. You think the dream died in the delivery room, and in some ways, it did. The old dream of freedom, control, and silence, gone. But in its place, there's something else, a new kind of chaos that feels meaningful. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't have to. You just keep going, day after day, like some kind of deranged hero fueled by caffeine and unconditional love. Because once that baby shows up, you can't go back. You're no longer the main character in your story, you're the supporting cast in theirs. And maybe that's the whole point. The dream didn't really die, it just changed costume. It stopped wearing sunglasses and started wearing diapers. Kids are dictators. Tiny, adorable dictators with sticky fingers and no sense of reason. They don't wear uniforms or issue decrees, they just scream them at 3 in the morning. And the worst part, you obey. You don't negotiate, you don't argue, you surrender. Because if you don't, they'll unleash that primal nuclear meltdown that makes you question every decision that led to this moment. You used to have control over your time, your choices, your sanity, and now you're ruled by someone who can't even spell the word control. You wake up when they say, you eat when they allow it. You sleep when they grant permission, which is never. You've been conquered by a person whose entire political platform is, I want juice. That's it. You thought you were becoming a parent, but you actually became a servant. Every parent is living in a tiny dictatorship disguised as a family. And your leader? They don't take feedback. They don't compromise. They just stare you dead in the eyes, covered in peanut butter, and demand another cartoon. And you'll do it. You'll hand over the remote like a hostage negotiator because the peace is worth more than your pride. That's the real power dynamic. Kids don't need logic or authority. They have persistence. They are relentless. They'll ask you for candy 78 times until your brain gives out, and you say, fine, just take it. It's psychological warfare. The Geneva Conventions should have a section about parenting. They have this way of making you forget you're the adult. You'll find yourself debating a 5-year-old about bedtime like you're in court. It's late, you need sleep. No. But it's good for you. No. You'll be tired tomorrow. No. You lose every time. You're outmaneuvered by someone who thinks a quarter is worth more than $1 because it's bigger. You used to win arguments with adults. Now you're being outsmarted by someone who can't even tie their shoes. And kids, they know they have the upper hand. They sense weakness like sharks smell blood. You raise your voice, they cry. You stay calm, they push harder. You threaten punishment, they call your bluff. It's a game, and you're the toy. And if there's more than one kid, congratulations, now it's a coup. They team up, they form alliances, they share intelligence. You walk into the room, and they're whispering. You know something's about to go down, but you can't prove it. You're living in fear of people who think glitter is a lifestyle. You ever try to eat something without sharing it? You can't. You could hide in the bathroom with a sandwich, and they'll still find you. They'll kick the door, calling your name like you're harboring state secrets. What are you eating? Nothing! You're eating! No, I'm brushing my teeth. You don't brush your teeth with chips. They have no sense of personal space, no respect for privacy. You can't take a single bite of peace without them sniffing it out like sugar detectives. And don't even think about watching TV. You paid for that big flat screen, but it's not yours anymore. It belongs to the cartoon overlords. You'll try to sneak in one episode of something for adults, but the moment you sit down, they appear out of nowhere like the FBI. What are you watching? Nothing! Can I watch my show? And there it goes. You'll spend 3 hours watching talking animals sing about friendship while your soul quietly dies in the corner. Even when they're not demanding things, they're still in charge because you're always on alert. You can't relax. The silence that used to mean peace now means destruction. You're sitting there enjoying a rare quiet moment, and then it hits you, it's too quiet. You run to the other room and find them drawing on the wall, washing the cat, or making soup out of shampoo. You can't look away for a second. It's like living with a very cute, very unpredictable terrorist. And here's the craziest part, you love them anyway. You'll be standing there, covered in baby food, holding a broken toy, listening to them scream because you cut their sandwich wrong. And some part of you still melts. It's insane. No rational person would tolerate this kind of abuse, but parenting isn't rational. It's emotional Stockholm Syndrome. You start to bond with your captor. You start thinking, maybe they're right. Maybe I did cut the sandwich wrong. Then you catch them doing something tiny, something pure, like mispronouncing a word, or handing you a crayon drawing that looks like roadkill but says, I love you on it. And suddenly, you forget all the chaos. Your brain resets. You're standing there thinking, this little dictator owns me, but I'm okay with it. That's the trick of it all. They break you down, strip away your pride, your patience, your sleep, and then they win you back with one hug. You used to think you could run your household like a democracy, fair rules, clear boundaries, mutual respect. But it's not a democracy. It's a monarchy with no succession plan. You're not the president, you're the royal butler. You exist to serve the tiny ruler until they're old enough to rebel against you. And when that happens, you'll look back and laugh, because even though they ruled your world, they also gave it meaning. You don't realize it while it's happening. You're too tired, too overwhelmed. But those little dictators, those chaos machines, they're shaping you. They teach you patience, humility, and the fine art of surrender. You learn to live with imperfection, to find humor in disaster, to love even when it's hard. Because when you strip it all down, that's what parenting is, being ruled by love in its messiest, loudest form. It's losing the war every day and still showing up for battle. And the wild thing is, you wouldn't trade your spot in that tiny, tyrannical kingdom for anything.